everyone. This is Coach Corey Doggs of actionCOACH Business Coaching. I'm excited to have Scott Bushkie, Managing Partner and Founder of Cornerstone Business Services with us today. Scott has more than 25 years of experience in the M&A industry. He's a recognized thought leader bringing investment bank level services to buy-side and sell-side transactions in the lower middle market. He has successfully executed hundreds of transactions domestically and internationally, working with private equity firms, family offices, and strategic buyers. As a keynote speaker, Scott has engaged audiences from national organizations to local trade groups and international delegations with a core message for business owners and their trusted advisors to begin planning now for inevitable business transition. Cornerstone Business Services is a lower middle market investment banking firm that focuses on three key areas of service: 1, valuations; 2, sell-side advisory work; and 3, buy-side advisory work. Scott will share more about Cornerstone in a bit. Something unique about Scott, actually 2 things unique about Scott. He won a trophy for selling Cutco cutlery door-to-door while in college in Wisconsin. Those were the days, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And he was the youngest person in the world at the time to receive a CBI designation from the IBBA and his M and AMI designation from the M&A Source Association. His favorite thing to do in his downtime is going to his cottage on the lake to make memories with his family and friends. I'll also add this: likes to coach his kids in basketball.
Absolutely.
And something he's most proud of is his 3 kids and coaching them in basketball over the years. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome Scott to the show today. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Corey. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, now we're going to jump into some questions. Let's have the conversation. First
Sounds
question is, tell us a little bit more about your personal story, your personal journey, kind of where you were born and raised, and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So grew up in a little town in Horicon, Wisconsin, over by Beaver Dam and by over in Kewaskum area. Mm-hmm. And went to school there at the Lutheran school. And that was where I first started my sales. We were doing, they had to sell wrapping paper and napkins for Thanksgiving and Christmas to all these little old ladies. And most people would just sell to their grandmas and maybe aunt, uncle. And my parents would have to find me, walking down the streets in the dark all through Horicon trying to sell people stuff because I wanted to get the super glow in the dark bouncy ball or whatever, toys it was that you could buy with so many points. Mm-hmm. And did that. And then went off to college at Whitewater knew I was going to be in sales business and got a marketing degree with emphasis in sales. And then while at Whitewater, as you mentioned, I wanted to make a little bit of cash and did Cutco cutlery door to door. And it was funny. They gave us a little set of knives on Wednesday and said, "Oh, go out this weekend, and I'm sure you won't sell much, if anything, and then come back. We'll talk about what you could have done differently." And I went out and back to Horicon, sold some knives, came back and called them my numbers. And my manager called me back and said, "Those really your numbers?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "Well, people do this for a living?" I go, "Nope." "Yeah, well, we had a week-long competition, and you won it in your first weekend." So I got the big Cutco cutlery trophy. So it was kind of fun. And then between my junior and senior year, again, I wanted to kind of scratch that entrepreneurial side of things more. So I saw an ad for College Pro Painters and ended up being a College Pro Painter manager, which was outstanding. In fact, I think some of your action coaches were actually College Pro Painters managers early back in the day. And so that was just a lot of fun of doing that. And then after school, graduated and again, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I thought sales, but then again, the competitive side of me, because I ran track while at Whitewater just to kind of stay competitive. It was a decathlete for 4 years. So that was kind of an interesting opportunity, but I always had that competitive edge. And that's where I love sales because it's just easier to keep score and than management. But I knew when I ran my College Pro Painter franchise that that went really well, but I wasn't as strong on the management side of things and the financial side of things as I could have been, or I would like to be. It was more on the more coaching and sales and a couple other things. And so really didn't know what I was exactly going to do. I looked at some sales, and then I heard that Aldi Foods was coming to Whitewater and looking for a district manager position, and that no one had ever got hired by Aldi's from Whitewater. So I'm like, again, the competitive Seller came out and said, well, then that's what I'm going to do. Never did I ever want to work for a grocery store business or anything along that line, but really they paid extremely well, company car, everything else. So I'm like, yeah, let's try that. And it ended up working out, worked there for 2 years and was a great program, learned a lot of things to do, not to do. But I knew that I wanted to get back into sales and probably a smaller company with less corporate politics and everything else. And wanted to get into big ticket sales, didn't know what that meant. And my youngest brother, who's 6 years younger than I, his best friend's uncle was in this business, was in the business brokerage and commercial real estate business. And that's what got me from Milwaukee after college to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and worked for them for a couple of years. And again, it was again, there's all kinds of different models up. There's no right or wrong model, but it was kind of be everything to everyone and try to take on as many clients as you could get. To kind of that real estate model of the more listings you have, the better chance you have of selling something. But that also meant the more clients that you probably weren't going to sell and the collateral damage of that. And I just didn't understand that model. So I worked there for about 2.5 years and left and started up Cornerstone in January of 2001 with the whole kind of notion that quality, kind of quality versus quantity, tell people what they need to hear to make a well-informed decision, not just what they want to hear in order to get a client or a retainer or anything along that line. And that's kind of what we set out. And we did some research early on too, to say, okay, where's all the competition? Where are those opportunities? As you always say, the riches are in the niches. And so we looked around and talked to a lot of folks and said, hey, if you had a $500,000 company, who would you go to? Well, I'd call Sunbelt or I'd call VR Transworld, one of the franchises potentially. And I said, well, what if you had a $100 million company? Who'd you call? Well, we go to, call the guys in, one group in Milwaukee or go down to Chicago or New York. And so what if you had a $5, $10, $15 million company? And everybody hesitated, not just in Green Bay, not just in Wisconsin, not just in the Midwest, but nationally. Everybody's like, well, the business broker would love to take on a $10 million deal because that fee would be more than 5, 10 deals that they're doing, combined. But they don't have the back office and the sophistication. And really the process to run is just a completely different process. And the big groups would be like, yeah, we could sell your company, but we don't even get out of bed for at least $1 million success fee or more. So why would we ever want to take on a lowly $10 or $20 million company? So I've always said definitely not the smartest guy in the room in most cases, but people say, okay, what if we could bring the investment banking level model down to the lower middle market? And so those companies that you mentioned, like 5 to 150 million revenue, 1 to 15 in EBITDA. A lot of times our clients are 3 to 50 million in enterprise value, plus or minus on both ends a little bit. But what if we could bring really good services to that? And that's where we all ended up kind of selling in, and kind of how Cornerstone got founded, and with that kind of kind of thought process. And our mission, is to make a positive life change, help make a positive life changing event to all the lives that we touch, and really help people, affect their lives in a positive motion, and have a high closing ratio, not have a lot of collateral damage. And that's kind of what we've set out to do, and what we've become over the last almost 20 years now.
Yeah. 23 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun. So, and these folks, they only have one chance to sell their business. So you want to help them maximize that.
Correct. Yeah. That's just it. Is that business owners, we actually partnered with a film director. We created a film called M&A. You can see the trailer at madecade.com. But it was we interviewed a bunch of business owners afterwards, and it was very interesting because that's exactly what they said. It's like, you can make a really bad hire and it hurts, but you can recover from that. You can lose your biggest customer. Again, you can typically recover from that, but you get one chance to sell your business. It's the one thing you can't screw up, because once that bell is rung, you cannot ring it. And I've seen so many business owners that are good people with good business just end up shutting down their doors. Yeah. And I've seen other people that just listen to, get excited and kind of flattered by unsolicited offers and leave millions of dollars on the table, because these buyers are the reason they're reaching out to you as the business owner versus, waiting till we take them to market, is because they know they're going to get a much better deal. And that's typically what happens. And so we're trying to combat that and help business owners with their largest financial transactions of their life.
All right. Question number 2, you already answered. I was going to say, so you kind of wove that into your personal story. So thanks for that. Now I want to jump to leadership. Leadership. Oh, that's a big word. Really.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're all leading in our own way, day in, day out, families, employees, etc. There's different styles. So let's talk about your leadership style. And secondly, has it evolved over the years, or has it kind of stayed the same?
Yeah, no, I think it has. I think it's one that I try to lead by example, I guess I would say, and I've always tried to be the first person in, last person out, and early on in my career, and kind of wore that badge of I worked 100 hours this week, and I think that can get you to a certain level of your company, but then I kind of plateaued, was successful, but kind of plateaued for about 10, 15 years after some strong growth early on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I had to transition my leadership ability of trying to make all the decisions to really try to build out a team around me. And it's been in the last 5 years or so that we've really built out our team at Cornerstone and have seen, continued growth from that. But I am the visionary or the strategist. I am not the integrator, detail-oriented person. So I've got the guys with all the ideas and all the different. I see things before anybody else does, and then try to. That's where we've got success, is trying to build a team around me that can really vet those and then take those and run with them and implement on them after the fact. But yeah, I probably, like I said, for 10 to 15 years, I was just hitting my head against the ceiling going, man, why can't we do more? And finds out that, hey, guess what? I was the problem.
You were the lid.
Yeah.
We see that often, right? When sometimes we don't realize it, even though we do.
Right.
Okay. So you've shared some about Cornerstone and kind of the number side of things of who's a good fit for you. Can you go a little bit deeper on like types of businesses? Are they family owned? Are they partners? I mean, that kind of thing as far as who your target is.
Yeah. So typically our most of our clients are first time sellers. So,
Okay.
we don't deal with professional sellers and things like that. That's but typically someone that needs our help to just go, where do I even start? And we, again, because we have limited clientele, we take the time to really help them. So yeah, business owner, a lot of times it's a husband-wife team, could be a couple partners in a business as well, but privately held, first-time sellers in most cases, doesn't have to be, but most cases, looking to really maximize the value or what's important to them in a business. We'll talk about value, but it could be the deal structure or them leaving sooner versus later, or really it's someone that sees the value of bringing in a team of specialists around them and willing to invest in that. But most importantly, I think it's those that want the peace of mind. If you said, hey, Corey, I just want to sell my business for $2 million. I don't care if it's worth 10. I just want $2 million. I'm good. Well, then that's probably not the right fit. If you go, hey, we don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to have that peace of mind that we got to choose. And again, it might not be the highest value, but structure, protecting the employees, better cultural fit. And that's really what the people that want to work with us, they want that peace of mind that they get to typically choose who their successor is, and knowing they didn't leave any money on the table. Because on average, we're getting 4 or 5 offers per client over the last 3 to 5 years. I think this year it's something crazy like 13 offers per client that we've taken through our full process. There's so much money out there and so many buyers chasing deals right now. We've had some good companies that garnered a lot of interest. But I think that's really someone who wants to sell their company, wants to see it be successful after they leave, want to be able to choose who their successor are, have that peace of mind, and just have someone that they can guide them through that every step of the way, and let them do what they're really good at, which is run the business. Because otherwise, what happens a lot of times is someone will say, "Oh, I'll try it myself first, and then if not, we'll come to Cornerstone." Well, they make all the mistakes that most business owners make, and now they've tainted the marketplace. But also, what they've done is, more importantly, is they've taken their eye off the ball. And also now, well, I'm not paying as much attention to, I lost that sale. That's just one. Oh, shoot, we lost another one. And it's like, also you start to see it go down like this. And unfortunately, business buyers, people that buy businesses, they're not going to look back and say, well, what did Corey do in his peak? When he was in his prime and had all this energy.
Yep. What have you done for me lately?
It's what are the last, not even like today, we're sitting in September, almost October of 24. It's not even like, well, what did 23 look like? It's what are the last 12 months? So going back from October of 23 all the way up to the end of September here of 24, that's what they're going to put most, if not all, of the value on. So I've seen people go, well, I was in business for 30 years. I held on 1 year too long because I just didn't know what I didn't know. I couldn't quite let go of my baby. And yeah, sales dropped, big deal. But we did an estimate value of what it was a year ago and where it was in 1 year later, and they lost 40% of the value of their company. 40%,
Ouch.
only because they held on 3% too long in their journey, but it cost them 40%. And that's why we're trying to help, with experts like yourself to help business owners start that conversation earlier, because what we found is there's two key factors that help business owners not only sell, but sell at a premium. And the first one is start planning sooner. And it's not even planning, it's just getting ready for the eventual, we're all going to exit our businesses, but just plan earlier and really put together a plan of when do you want to get out? What does that ideal look like? And number two is build a team of specialists around that client. And it's obviously, the M&A, the investment banker, M&A advisor, it's your CPA, could be some other tax people, it's your attorney, but also bringing in an M&A attorney. It's the business coaches, the value enhancement coaches to really help get that company ready 1, 2, 3 years or more beforehand. And that financial advisor, because what we've seen is, most business owners have no idea what their business is worth. They know what their car is worth. They know what their cottage is worth. They know what their house is worth. But their largest financial asset, usually sometimes 80+% of their whole net worth, they just guess. They have no idea. And so they don't know what it's worth. They have no idea what they're going to net out of it, and they have no idea what they need to live. So that's part of our Cornerstone process is to say, okay, let's understand what is your true realistic value in today's marketplace, not in yesterday's marketplace or last year's, but in today's marketplace, because that could be higher or lower, even if everything else was the same. And then what are you going to net? Let's just say it's 10 million. Who cares? What are you going to net out of that? Let's just say it's 6. Well, then what do you need to live your ideal lifestyle? We call it the lifestyle number. And most people don't meet with those people till after the fact. Hey, I got a bunch of money. Let's meet now and see what happens. And now it's like the bell's rung. You can't go, oh, shoot, that's not enough. So
in tax planning.
Yeah. So if it's 6 million and your lifestyle number is 8, well, then you got two choices. You either lower your lifestyle number down to 6 or work with Corey and his team and you go back up to our step 1 in our process, which is value enhancement work. And then we just go through those steps until the numbers make sense. And now they're making a well-informed decision with confidence versus just praying to God that whatever it is they can live off of. And it's usually not a good thing at the end of the day when that's your strategy with, 20, 30 years of business.
It's interesting. Sometimes I'll be talking to business owners, I get into, networking and such, and I'll ask them, so what's your goal with the business? And some of them say, I don't know. Well, what do you want to do with it down the road?
Right.
And some haven't even thought about that yet. Right. And not criticizing, just you're right. What do you mean?
No,
ultimately, I like to think that, hey, if you've got a business, I think the ultimate goal should be to sell it at some point, not turn the lights off.
Well, and that's why private equity groups get such a better return than most business owners, because they won't buy a company until they know how they're going to grow it, how they're going to add the value, and who they're going to really sell it to. The plan's there. Whether it's 5, 7, 10 years, the plan is we're going to do this. We're going to do these couple things to it. We're going to grow it, and then we're going to sell it. Where a business owner kind of gets in and we all get excited, and then you kind of get all your bank debts paid off and things are going good. And you're like, oh, this is a pretty good lifestyle. And now we're just coasting. Now it becomes that lifestyle business. And when you get out, I don't know. And it's funny because we actually have I wrote a book and a workbook called Finish Strong, Sell Your Business on Your Terms. And one of the exercises that I put in the book is really kind of putting a flag in the ground of when do you want to be out of your business? What year? Well, how old do you want to be? And then working the numbers backwards, because I'll routinely ask a business owner, Corey, when do you want to sell your business? Answer, 5 years. I'll see Corey 2 years later. Corey, when do you sell your business? 5 years. It's always 5 years because it's far enough out that I really don't have to do too much yet, but it's close enough that either I or my spouse get excited that I'm actually going to retire. And it's just putting the flag in the ground and then understanding what's important to you in a sale. And there's 10 different, deal points that you really got to think through. And there's just a lot of different things that, that's what we try to do with the book and workbook. And just even our discovery calls is that we do at no cost. It's just to help them understand what is the process, how important is timing, whatever questions they might have, and just kind of help them prepare, because that's where, folks like yourself, these, different coaches can come in. There's so many things that you guys can do to help the business owner, and it doesn't even need to be that long. If I could even, I've given clients to folks like yourself, even for a year, and the things that you can do in a year to get that business ready, it just gives it gives that business owner so many more options. But yet it's done so little, just because most business owners don't sell the business because they worked out a strategy and they're implementing a strategy. Fortunately, they wake up one day and go, it's not fun anymore. I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm sick, my spouse is sick. And that's not a fun place to be, and now you got to get out. We want to do it, again, on your terms when you're excited and things are going well within the company.
Yeah, our team over the past few years, we've had 7 of our clients we've coached that sold their businesses, which is
Yeah.
a pretty high number, which is just it's awesome to see how they invested into coaching, into doing the right things to build it up, had a plan, had multiple offers type thing, and boom, life changes for the better. They had a
Yeah.
plan.
When we're working with a client and they're working with Action Coach or someone like yourself, Corey, I can't think of a time that we didn't get multiple offers for that client to pick, just because things are organized and cleaned up, and you guys do a nice job of just really professionalizing the company, de-risking the company per se, and that's where you're, the lower the risk, the higher the value, and the more interest you're going to have, and that's just those are just the facts. I actually had a guy one time come into my office and said, I want you to sell my business, and we did a valuation, came back and called him up well, let's meet, because I didn't want to do it on the phone. I'm like, look, there is no value to your company. He was in business for almost 20 years. He goes, that's BS. I guarantee there's value in my company. I'm like, well, then show me how you're getting to your value, because maybe I'm missing something, which we could be. And he goes, I've been in this business for 16 years. I have worked my butt off for 16 years. That's got to be worth at least $100,000 per year to somebody. So he's put a $1.6 million value on his company that even with all the ad backs was still losing money. So not only I can't even take a salary, but I can't even pay the bank because there's no money even to pay the bank. So where's the value going to come from? But that was in his mindset. He just couldn't believe that it was worth that. And I've had other people, they're making $2 million in EBITDA, and they go, yeah, this is probably at least worth $10 or $15 million. And I go, I'm sorry, but it's not even close. And well, how can that be? Well, you are the business. Everything goes through you, and you want to leave, right? Yeah, I want to leave. Why would I want to stick around if I sold my company? I go, exactly. Or the biggest customers, 30, 40, 50, 60% of the company. It's like, man, yeah, I've got a great relationship with them. Yes, you do. But now I'm buying your company. Well, how is that going to work? And I'm going to put it on a big earnout, and they're just not going to get the value. So and that's why we always say, when we do our estimates of value, it's like, why wouldn't you want to know now? Because we'll even update the valuation for 3 years at no cost. But why wouldn't you want to know now, so that way you can work on what the issues are that are holding you back, or maybe not getting to the value. Or you might find out that you're ahead of the value you thought, and you can live your life a year or two earlier, and get a retirement. Right. And hey, now you just got 2 years of your life to travel or do all the things that you wanted to do on your bucket list, that if you waited, who knows what life brings you. And like my dad, he was not an entrepreneur. He worked at John Deere and Horcon for 28 years, but they had an early retirement package, and he got to retire with pension at 30 years, everything else. And he came home one day from work, I told by my mom, and, hey, how was your day, honey? He's like, oh, it was good. I retired today. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, I retired. Never mentioned my mom at all. But he retired at 60. We're 62, and thank God he did, because they took cruises. He played a bunch of golf with his buddies. They traveled. They did all kinds of cool things they wanted to do. And at 62, 10 days before my birthday, he had a massive stroke on the golf course and was never the same again. He got flight for life down to Madison, and spent the next 5 years before he died of cancer, not living a life that he wanted to live, where he could barely walk, and just his body was kind of shutting down, and his mind was also not where he wanted to be. So think about that. He could have worked right to 62 like everybody was supposed to do, and done all that, and had nothing else to really to do, and leave all those things on the table. But he was able to get out earlier. So that's what we try to do, is by doing that estimate of value, having you meet with your tax people, having you meet with your financial advisor, they can make that well-informed decision. And sometimes it's sooner. Go, man, yeah, I could get out now. Yeah, well, why wait? And sometimes if they do wait, yeah, well, let's just go a little bit more. Well, so now the economy drops out. So your revenue's up, but the multiples are down. And he's like, well, that's not fair. Like, yeah, it's not, but that's life, and so that's what we try to do. And what, we always try to bring a team of specialists around each client.
Well, that's why valuations, I think, are underrated. So a lot of people only look at getting them done if they're ready to sell or want to start. Well, correct. Why not do it every year? Just know where things are truly at, right? How healthy is your business?
And that's just it. And that's why, we've done it, because that's why we said, hey, we'll do it for 3 years at no cost. So for $5,000, you get your largest asset, a real valuation by a real group of people, and we'll update it for 3 years. I mean, what kind of investment is that? And now, and we also identify areas like what are the 2 or 3 biggest things you could do to make your business more saleable or more valuable, and give them some tips, give you guys a couple tips. Yeah, I know you'll figure out your own. You do have your own discovery stuff, but it's just those kinds of things to understand where am I at today. Yeah, if I want to get here, what's the quickest way to get from A to Z, and having a guide along the way, it just makes sense. But so many people, well, I'll save a penny here, but I'll give up 80 cents, down the road, and it just doesn't make sense. But it is, it is what it is, and that's why we like to try to educate with books and workbooks and writing articles and in quarterly M&A updates and everything else to try to just help people make well-informed decisions of what they can do.
Okay, next question is 2001. You put your flag in the ground.
Yes.
What made you have the confidence to do that? Or was it just a leap of faith?
Yeah, I mean, I was at 20. I was 26. I was probably too dumb to know how much trouble I was really getting myself into. But I just, I worked for the other firm and said, learned a lot of things of to do, what not to do. And I did a lot of research and going, just, there's got to be a better way, and when I saw this whole, like everybody else was just doing everything themselves. So, there was a receptionist there that answered the phones, and that was about it. The owner had a reception or an assistant, but all of us were by ourselves. And so you were the hunter, you're writing contracts, then you're the copywriter, then you were the research analyst, then you were running the processing NDAs. So there's got to be a better way. So I hired my own assistant, not even at my own company. I paid for her out of my pocket, and immediately my productivity shot up. And I said, okay, now let's not tell people what they want to hear. I was really accurate as possible, not high, not low, but it's just as accurate as I could be of what I thought market was. And people are like, no, that's not enough. I'm like, okay, great, go work with someone else. And it was always fun because you'd almost send them to your competition, and not waste their time on them, literally. And but it was once I saw that, quality, a team of specialists, because even just having that reception or my assistant that could do things better than I could, I'd spend just a ton of time putting together the books and charts and graphs, and that she could just whip them out like that. And we were just so much more efficient in processing NDAs and getting out emails and letters. That I was like, I think there's a better way. And I'm 26 years old. I've got, not married, no kids, no distractions, and literally moved to Green Bay. Did not know anyone. Not a soul. So I came here and I'm like, I had zero distractions. And in fact, the one thing that probably helped me the most, and you probably can appreciate this, is I had at that firm, I had the top salesperson walk in my office, and she sat down and said, Scott, I'd love to give you some advice. I'm like, I've been here for like 4 months. I'd love some advice. 24 years old at the time. And he's like, you're too young. You're never going to make it. You should quit now. I go, and she got up and walked out, shut the door. I go, well, all right then. That was interesting. Huh. So I said, you know what? And that's kind of been my MO through sports and everything else. Is
you're competitive.
Just tell me that I can't do something. And so I worked morning, day, and night. I came in at 5 a.m, worked from 5 to 8, researching, learning, 8 to 5 for 6, working, and then we were above a bar. Our office was downtown above a bar. So I'd go down, we started to smell the popcorn and peanuts back in the, it was at, 99, 2000. And I'd go down, you had a $1 beer. It was buy one, get one free. So I had $1 beer, 8 free popcorn, peanuts, and pizza. And then had my second beer. I had to go back up for the second shift and work until I fell asleep, go home and get some sleep, shower, and do it over again. And I just did that probably for a year straight. Wow. And it was not the most healthy diet that I could have had. And but it was what I needed to do. In the next year, I was the top salesperson. And that gave me the confidence as well of, okay, I moved up to the ranks, and everybody else was in their 50s and 60s for the most part. I was, like I said, 24, 25 when I was working there. And so, I would probably want to thank her for for giving me that challenge, because I don't know that, and then joining like IBBA, the International Business Broker Association, and the M&A Source. So IBBA early on, and then M&A Source, later in my career. If it wasn't for those two organizations, truly, I probably would not be here today, because it was a place, you talk about leadership, where you can go and great leaders giving back and learning through courses and workshops, and where I learned the most of, I'd kind of strategically figure out who's showing up and kind of go, hey, okay, I'm going to buy that guy a beer. Hey, mind if I buy you a beer? Yeah. How do you do this? And how do you do that? And can I use that in my process too? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We're from Denver. I'm from Texas. I'm from wherever. And that's how we were originally created by a Cornerstone process. And then it's evolved, and now it's called the Assurance 360 process from there. But that's really, and now I'm giving back and been the chair of both organizations and all that fun stuff. But but yeah, I think between IBBA and M&A Source and having some good, success early on, and just my drive of, I'm not going to let myself fail, I think is probably how we're able to start the business.
Oh, well, thankfully she came in the office that day, huh? Who knows?
Yeah, it was a good thing. Like I said, it was a gut punch that day, but it was long term. I go, yeah, that was probably one of the key things that kept me in business.
Okay. All right. So looking back, is there anything you would do differently or change if you could go back to the beginning of your career?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that I would have done is focus more on pay more attention or scrutiny on hiring. I think HR is something that gets overlooked big time by small businesses, and we've had some amazing people here, and very, very good people, but just really making sure, are they the right fit from a cultural standpoint, soft skills, hard skills, not just looking good on paper, answering the questions the way that everybody's going to answer. But so we do more assessments now, which I think definitely helps, and just really focus on building up that culture. It was more about just getting results back in the day, and churning, and we churned good deal flow, but we also churned people. And I think I'd go back and try to build that team out earlier, and especially that HR process to get that better.
Okay, yeah, great insight. Next question. What's a common myth about being a president, CEO, owner, founder that you want to dispel?
We get all kinds of free time.
Right.
And I do have a lot of flexibility. You can tell by my voice, I just spent 3 days in Nashville and went to the Packer game, so I'm screaming way too much on Sunday. But I think we have flexibility, but I still feel, whether I should or shouldn't, like I don't have days off. Like everyone, I'm off. I don't take many days off, and when I do, I'm thinking about the business. It's your baby, and it's in the back of your head. So, I'd probably say that's probably one of the bigger ones.
Okay. Any interesting insights or advice you've heard or learned recently that you would like to share today?
I think, like we talked about, is just that whole part of truly, because even for our company, we're looking at it, it's always you give the advice, but do you follow your?
Yeah, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, your own Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. So it's really looking at what is the exit strategy. Really thinking of, if you want to, again, there's 9 or 10 different options we talk about in the book. But if you want to sell, are you building? Who should buy your company? Who are the best buyers? Types of buyers. Doesn't have to be specific company, but like for us, is it going to be a big CPA firm? Could it be a bank that is it a wealth management company, because that's where we get a lot of referrals from? Is it a big investment bank that wants to take care of the low middle market? But really starting to think through what that looks like for us, and then starting to build the company for the biggest benefit of that. I think is something that again, build, don't start a company or buy a company until you start thinking about how you're going to get out of it. Plans can always change, but if you don't know, again, you just get stuck in that rut. And I see too many people that don't get out soon enough. Very few people sell too soon. Most people sell too late. And we've seen it here that once somebody hits 70 years old, it just happens to be the marker, that over 70, the odds of them getting out successfully go down significantly, because they can't emotionally let go of their company. Their identity's tied too much to the company. Their health has kind of got worn down where they can't really enjoy the money anyway. So what else am I going to do? But we had some brothers in Iowa, 2 brothers in their 80s in Iowa. We did a pellet company, and, we got, benchmark was like 18, 19. We got over 24 million for the company. We had 4 offers still pending up. I think we could have got them at 26, and they called me in their office and said, we don't think the numbers make sense. I'm like, well, I'm not great at math, but we're hoping to get 18 and a half, and we're at 24, which is more than 18 and a half. And Said, yeah, we run the numbers, they just don't work. I said, okay. And then as we peeled back the onion, neither one worked in the company. So it wasn't like the company could run without them. They built out an amazing management team. But it was that one lived in Florida, one lived in Iowa, and they just didn't know what they were going to talk about anymore. There's like when they go to the country club, how's business? Oh, what would they say? So
Interesting.
they emotionally could not let go. And and we've seen that with other groups. It did a deal down in Appleton years ago where guy was 76 years old, came in like at 10 o'clock, read the newspaper and left at 2 to go play tennis. Didn't really do any value. Had a gentleman who was 42 years old who ran company divisions much bigger than the company he was going to buy. And his dad owned a $300 million company. So he was around companies, and the 76-year-old friend's like, I can't let this young kid buy this company. He'll run it into the ground. Like as he was running it into the ground, just because there was no energy, no capital going into the company. And I mean, we just seen it too many times. So we really, most of the clients that we work with are, 45 to 65 up to 70.
Okay.
So it's either the boomer, looking to sell, and we deal with a ton. Most of our clients are baby boomers, or it's the someone who came right out of high school typically, or even college, and started up a company or took over the family company early. They've done it for 20 years of their life, and they're like, hey, I've done this all my life. I'm mid-40s. There's more to life than this business. So I want to sell. And maybe they'll start another company. A lot of times they'll start a different company, but just something that's different. That seems to be the two types of business owners that we're dealing with these days.
Okay. All right. Now, what's something on the heels of those stories? It's a good timing. What is something new that you want to learn outside of work? Any new hobbies you want to take up?
Yeah. I want to be a better basketball coach. Okay. So I'm working on that. I want to try to take some clinics for the kids. Really, I've always wanted to get my pilot's license. Always been amazed with aviation and everything else. So it's just a timing thing a little bit. But I still remember the first time I flew, I was like I was probably second grade or something like that. For third grade, we went down to Florida, Disney, and that's when you could go in the cockpit back in those days and see the guys flying the planes. And I was talking to the guys. I was so enamored. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. In fact, he gave me his name and address. I wrote him a letter asking him how he likes it, how many hours he works, how much money he makes, and everything else. And so said to be back in like the early 80s. He was making $200,000 back then, which is a heck of a lot of money that a lot of them don't make that now. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And, for many years, I thought that was what I was going to do. And then I was on to something else. But
awesome. All right. So looking ahead the next 1 to 3 years, what do you see as Cornerstone's number one area of growth?
Yeah, we are building out the largest alliance of trusted advisors. So we've got about 3,000 of them in there right now. We think we can get over to 30,000 trusted advisors. So financial advisors, CPA firms, banks that do wealth management work, M&A attorneys, business coaches, and just build that out where we can provide a lot of content and education and onboarding and help them start the conversation with their clients sooner. And then they bring us in to do the estimate of value and the valuation, and then they do what they do, whether it's the tax planning or the value enhancement or the wealth management side of it or whatever it might be, but really building that community of folks. So that's called our CAPEX program, CAPEX. So that's our goal, is to really build that out and kind of figure out the battle of business development and just really bringing the right clients to us at the right time and everything else.
All right. And then what do you see as being your number one challenge?
People stuck in their ways, people in their ruts of going, yeah, this makes sense. But then they go back into their rut and don't do it. And it's funny because we'll have wealth management people all the time that I'll speak at different conferences and go, man, I wish I would have heard you speak 2 months ago. Just had a client sell his business for $30 million. And, I had a 15-year relationship with them. We buddy, but I didn't help them, do any of the planning or pre-planning or help build a team around him. I just figured that we play golf together once or twice a year, that I'm going to get the funds. And so many times somebody else will swoop in with a bigger name, big wealth management name and say, Scott's really nice, but I'm Corey with ABC, and wealth management. And all of a sudden you pick up 20 million, and I sit there going, man, I just spent 15 years trying to build this relationship up, and I got $500,000 with this guy.
Wow.
or lady. So yeah, I think it's just onboarding education and staying consistent, top of mind and helping just build this alliance the way we want to build it.
All right. Last question before we start wrapping up is what advice do you have for business owners who are trying to do it all on their own?
I always use the analogy when I'm speaking is, trying to sell your business by yourself is like going to a golf course and you might be the best basketball athlete in the world. You are Michael Jordan good.
Mm-hmm.
And even Michael Jordan going to some club that he's never played before and taking on the club pro who's played that course 1,000 times,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all that he does is play that course and think you're going to win. And you're betting your whole company on it, basically. And so it just doesn't work. These buyers that you're going up against in the low middle market, they are sophisticated. They are there for one purpose: to buy a company at the best possible deal, best possible structure, and to get the best possible return. They are not there to be the nicest guy or lady in the world to tell you, they're going to tell you what you want to hear in a lot of cases, and then either come in with a lowball offer or down the road, they'll keep stretching out the deal, stretch out the deal, and eventually get to where they ultimately knew they were going to be anyways because you're just exhausted. And it's I can show you multiple examples where what our fee is. I think this year, just to give you an example, what our fee is, we're getting 3 times our fee in a premium over what other companies of similar size and scope are selling for. Because we don't, in the low middle market, you don't put an asking price on the business because there's so many variables. So we say, okay, Corey, your business is worth $10 million. On average, we're getting $13 million for your company or more. And our cost is a fraction of that. So it really is. People don't see the investment; they see it as a cost. And man, why do I want to spend 3% or 5%? But if you could spend 5% but get 20% more for your company, would you do it? And most people would say yes, but again, they just don't know what they don't know. So that's where just start with a call, pick up the phone. It's like Gruber, one call, that's all. Around M&A, just pick up the phone, give us a call. We can have that discovery call, and if we're not the right fit, we will tell you that immediately as soon as we know it, and we'll turn you on to someone that is. And that's been my promise for everybody. We just don't leave people going, well, sorry, we're not the right fit for whatever reason, and you're on your own. Because of the associations that I've been a part of and started up and everything else, I can usually find someone that's a good fit and good experience.
Okay. So now shout out time. There's been a lot of folks that I'm sure have impacted you on your journey, including that woman that came in the room and told you to quit. So this is your chance to give any shout outs or thank yous to folks that have helped you along the way.
Yeah, well, my mom and dad, first of all, and I would say, John, just IBBA and M&A Source in general. There's so many names out there, but if you're in, watching this and you're in business brokerage or M&A, and you're not part of one of those associations, absolutely check them out. There's M&A Source has 2 conferences a year, one coming up in October, the other one's in May, and IBBA just has one in May or late April typically. But those groups have helped me tremendously. There's local people here like Terry Fulweiler is on my board. He took a company from $4 million when he went to work for his dad, built it up to over $450 million through 30 different acquisitions. Vern Harnish, who founded EO and wrote the book Scaling Up and is scaling up. Vern's on our board. He's been an instrumental gentleman helping me. We've got Bob Petkoff. I met him through Avantex. He's been really good on our board. But Craig Dickman from Titletown Tech has been really good just to bounce different ideas off of, especially when it comes to metrics and things along that line. But the list goes on and on about the folks that have been able to help us over the years.
Okay, and then to wrap up, how can someone learn more about Cornerstone? How can they contact you? What about some of the resources? You mentioned the books and workbooks and things like that. So go ahead and share how folks can get a hold of you.
Yeah, easiest. You want to give a call, 920-436-9890, or Cornerstone, and then a hyphen or dash business.com is our website, cornerstone-business.com. And the book is on Amazon or anywhere else. If you just look up Finish Strong, then Sell Your Business on Your Terms. And you have to put in book, and then you have to put in Finish Strong workbook. For whatever reason, we can't bundle them together. But they're both there. And that's really, and if you're a trusted advisor and you want to learn more about our CAPEX program, it's just CAPEX program.com, and you can check that out as well. But no, thank you, Corey, for your time.
Thank you. Great discussion today. So thanks for sharing, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Have a great day.